Welcome to Bay Rats and Buoys with your host, Captain Gaige.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys, Season 2, On the Boat. This is episode number 31, brought to you in part by Cito Huntington. Are you a member? Visit Cito.com to join today. And the Fisherman Magazine, my favorite subscription to get in the mail, and Clicks Fueling. Clicks is the fix. Visit clicksfueling.com. What's up, guys? We are back on the boat. Nice, overcast, cool day. Looks real fishy. We got a nice fog here all morning, so the fog is just starting to lift. I tried sitting here without my glasses on, and I'm squinting because the sun is really right up there above me, and it's still bright. But, yeah, nice foggy morning, and a few boats just starting to head out. The traffic just picked up and ramped up out of the harbor, and waited for some noisy boats to pass by and then start the podcast. So we are sitting in Huntington Harbor right now, and the water temperature's around 64 degrees, and it's about 59 out in the Sound. And there are some cooler spots because it was 59 on Mother's Day on Sunday, and then we were back out there on Tuesday, and it was even cooler. So it's definitely fluctuating. We got that rain and, which direction the wind is going, all that fun stuff. But it is heating up. That's the good news. Not only is it heating up, the water temp, but the fishing is really starting to ramp up. We had a nice family. The Cavasos came out with us on Mother's Day, and they brought their two 10-year-old daughters. And, man, when I tell you there's nothing better on Mother's Day than putting Mom on in the first 35-inch striped bass, first bass ever. That's a nice fish to catch. And then Dad followed it up with a 36-inch fish. And the kids landed a 31-inch keeper. And they sat right here. We turned the chair around like it is. Obviously, these are not in the same direction they are when we drive on the boat. I turned them around so I could sit on the live well here. And we turn it around for them so they could sit here like it's a fighting chair. And, man, it's a ton of fun. Nothing but good times when the kids are reeling in some big fish. And it was a great time. It really was. So shout out to the Cavasos. You guys were awesome. That was a fun trip. Really was. Looking forward to seeing you guys again. And that's it. You know, me and Corey are always down for last-minute trips when people can hit us up and say, hey, can we get out tomorrow? You know, we'll check the weather, the tide, and tell you what the best time is for, what we think the bite is on and what we're looking to fish for. Whether you want to go porgy fishing, fluke fishing, striped bass fishing, you name it, we're in. We're down. And it's a great time of the year. It really is. Before all the boats are in the water, Memorial Day weekend, and right now the fishing is red hot. Now, when I say it's red hot, does that mean you can go out there this afternoon and get skunked? 100%. You know, it depends what tide you got, whether the fish are biting. There was definitely a bait hatch out there. I want to say the sand eel hatch happened because there was just birds working everywhere. These fish have been gorging. They're fat. Some that have spit up the mat. We were out there on Tuesday, so I was out there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday it rained, and then I'll be back out there today. Today's Thursday. And Saturday it was blowing. So we actually had to reschedule a charter that was happening on Saturday. So Monday I took Gabe out. I took M&G Marine out and put him on his first bass of the season, which was always nice. And they were real nice, clean fish. So I want to say those were holdovers, fish that were here. They weren't the big 40-inch fish that we were catching on Tuesday. And Tuesday, me and Corey went out. There were 5- and 6-foot swells out there. You had wind out of the east, and it was nautical. There were 5 boats out there, okay? And all 5 boats were hooking up with fish. I mean, Matt was out there from J&M Seafood, the grand prize sponsor of our first annual Striped Bass Invitational going down Sunday, June 22nd. And he was hooking up on every pass. And in fact, it's funny, people see a picture and they right away have, comments and they think the picture tells a story. But when I'm on my boat taking pictures of people, it's usually with the GoPro and it's usually in video mode. So I'm videotaping everything. And then what you're seeing is a screenshot. okay? Because we're not wasting time and taking cell phones out to take pictures with the fish and whatnot. It's just so easy. The GoPro's rolling. You see the light flashing. You're pointing it at them. They held it up. You know you got it, and the fish goes over. We tag it. It goes over. We measure it, and bye-bye, And then usually, like the kids, they were giving the fish a name. So it was cute. We tagged the fish and let it go, and they were the ones naming it. And somebody shot me a text saying that, hey, you preached this, but it looks like somebody did this. And I said, yeah, it does. It does look like that. But that's not what happened. And, so I have the video here to show. And Matt was out there on his boat, and he's fishing. And so I'm taking pictures of him. I'm taking GoPro video of him. He's doubled up. He has a tandem rig out. Okay, he hooks up with 2 bass. So what does he have to do? He's got to reel in 2 bass. He's got to put 2 bass on his boat. He's got to de-hook them, and he's got to let them go. So as he picked these fish up to let them go overboard, he held them up, and he put them in the water, and he let them go. But you see one person on a boat holding up 2 fish, and right away people think, oh, he's over the limit. He killed, they're dead. Meanwhile, he was just holding them up to let them go. And in the amount of time that it took him to lift it up and put them in the water, it's faster than it took for you to write the email and the message saying, hey, this is what it looked like. So I totally get it, and we love it. But, again, me and Corey do practice what we preach. We can't control what other people are doing on their boat. We cannot. And we don't want to. But we want to educate people so that maybe they do the right thing. And, yeah, when I see people holding fish up vertically, is that the proper way to hold a fish up? Absolutely not. It's kind of like me picking you up by your neck. Is that the right way to hold you, or do I put my arm under your legs and support your back and pick you up that way and cradle you? So there's a proper way to do it. And some people just pick the fish up any which way they can because they don't really know how. And we try to educate the people on the boat even when they're doing it. We ask if they want a lip gripper. We'll show them. I mean, if you don't have bass thumb this time of the year, you're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? And everybody out there that knows what bass thumb is and has bass thumb knows exactly what I'm talking about. And, man, Tuesday, I was jigging a mini mojo, okay? Because like I said, when me and Corey are on the boat, we're not trolling around. We're just going to look for them, find them, and we're going to work for them. And so he hooked up right away on a flutter spoon. So he got a nice one on a flutter spoon. First, I think the first fish he got on Tuesday, even in these 5-foot swells, and they weren't whitecaps. They were just big. I mean, this was, it was 6 inches away from stuffing the bow every time that you had to pay attention to what you're doing. So could everybody be out there on a day like that? No. Do I recommend everybody going out? No. But this is how you learn, by being out in those conditions. And I tell you, on Matt's boat, people even said to me, hey, Matt's got a set of cojones being out there on his boat and doing it, on a day like that. But Matt was catching more fish than anybody. And Corey hooked up to a 39-inch bass. And when we saw the top water explosion, it was exactly like the one that he caught prior that you see on the video. To the intro to this show was also another big bass on top water action. And he got it on the dock, and he threw it right out to where we saw the splash. We drove over to it, and it was just, it's not like there's a boil and there's 10 fish or even 5 fish working bait. I swear to you, it was one bunker flying out of the water and one bass tailing after him right there, and we threw into it, and boom, Corey hooked up with him. And the mistake that I made, the human error that I made, was adjusting my GoPro because it was looking dark in the video, and I was going to change one of the settings. And while I did that, I took the GoPro off of hyper smooth, and we're out in 5-foot swells. So the video looks like I got Tourette's, and it's like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, what did I do? But we were out in rough seas, throwing into them, catching them on top water action, which was awesome. Then when we saw them stacked up, we would drop in mini mojos. And, it's funny. I'll tell you one day or 1 week in the fishing report that they're hitting white and, they weren't touching chartreuse. Well, 100 yards away, this guy's only fishing chartreuse, and that's all they're hitting. And they're getting them on chartreuse. So when I'm telling you on Thursday now that yesterday they were only hitting a certain color, today that color could be totally different. So that's why when we get out there, we're using the white and the chartreuse and seeing he was catching them. And my point here is he was catching on the starboard side of the boat with a white mini mojo, and I was catching on the port side of the boat with a chartreuse mini mojo. And, the flutter spoons, like I say, in those rougher conditions, they'll scope out way further away from the boat than where you want to be, because you want to get down into the fish. When you see them on your sonar, you want to stop and get them down, and you want them to go down. You want to feel the bottom. You want to hit the bottom. So we're all set up for that. We're ready for that when that's ready to happen. And if we can get them on the flutter spoon, we love it, because that's just a ton of fun. There's a little bit of a technique to it. You feel a lot of times you'll feel a hit or two, whether you get a hit on the way up, whether you get the hit on the way down. That's what makes the flutter spoon so much fun. It really is. It's a blast. Sometimes getting hit and not hooking up is just as much fun, just knowing that you just got hit by a bass down there that went after your lure. But how did he attack it? What did he do? That you felt it. So that's what's so cool. But we switch up to the mini mojos when the flutter spoons are scoping out on a too far away from the boat, and they're not staying down in the zone where we need them to be. So that's why we changed it up. But that was epic on Tuesday to be throwing topwater in those conditions, to even being able to see the fish. Now, let me tell you, if it was a little bit calmer, I think it would have been lights out on. You would have had a ton of boats out there. You would have seen, running and gunning, birds working, the whole 9 yards. So Tuesday, that was Tuesday, rough day. Monday, it was a little different. It wasn't. We were on the incoming tide, so we found them in a totally different area than everybody had been saying. They're jumping out of the water. Matt came in one day and he comes back to the dock, and I'm sitting here working on my boat doing some stuff, and he tells me that it's blowing up out there. They're jumping out of the water. The birds are everywhere. 40 boats have them all corralled in, and they're working it. And so what do? I grab a couple rods. I jump on the boat. I go out and see and videotape. And boy, do I have a story for you. And this is where I'll ask you guys to all chime in throughout the year. And we're going to do this. It's going to be great. It really is. Because I am now collecting the blooper reels of the things that people do out there, where not only do they, embarrass themselves. And I'm not here to embarrass anybody, and that's why I'm not putting it on the screen and telling you about it. But I am going to have an episode in the off season, come November, come the end of November, right around Thanksgiving, something that we could all laugh about. And you guys run into these same issues out there. I know you do. And if you take out your phone, you don't all have to have a GoPro. You can videotape what the ding-dong boater out there is doing that they shouldn't be doing, and send me the clip. And you send me the clip, and I am going to have a bloopers reel of some of the things that go on out there that we experience, because I'm out there every day. And I see it all. I do. I'll see a little boat coming in, and I'll be like, yo, those are the guys that test the water. They're taking water samples. And he's like, how do you know that? And I'm like, because I'm out here every day. I see them. So I know they go over there, and they just stick the thing in the water, and they're testing the water. And I see them all the time. So it's good. It's a good thing that they're doing that. That's how they found out they had too much bacteria in Port Jefferson. So, there's guys out here that clean the bottoms of the boats and dive and do all kinds of great things. It's not just fishing boats and charters and sailboats and big boats and small boats. There's a lot going on here in the harbor. Just in the harbor alone, you can spend a day in the harbor and see awesome things and see great stuff. You can stay in the harbor and see some real funny stuff. Things that, I'm not too far from the fuel dock, so I get to see it all. Thank God I'm a little further away from the boat ramp, so I don't have to see that spectacle where, we all know what the boat ramps are like, and those boat ramp videos are great, especially down in Florida because it's just so busy. Now, I used to launch my boat in Wanto Park, and that ramp can be hysterical, it really can. but as is all boat ramps can be funny. So that's what I'm asking you guys to do. If you guys want to, throughout the season, submit, and I'll remind you guys towards the end of the season, to submit videos, and we'll do that, and we'll have some fun with it for sure, because I already started my collection. I'm telling you right now, really funny stuff. And like I said, I'm a local captain, so I'm not out here to shame people. I'm not going to, somebody's on the rocks, I'm not taking a picture and sharing it with you guys saying, look at this moron. Things happen. It's boating. So that's just my perspective of it, and I'm going to have fun with it. But we're going to do it in the right way. That's all. So that was just the past few days. I'm going back out this afternoon. Like, I can't wait. Once I'm done with this podcast, I am back out there. In fact, I've shot a message out to one or two Bay Rats and Buoys listeners that are local. And I said, hey, here's the time I'm going to head out. If you're around, you want to shoot down, we'll head out. And that's why I say open up the line of communication if you're a local in the area here and you want to learn, you want to go out and see and do. We're also going to start doing open boat for 1 or 2 days during the week. We're going to run an open boat, me and Corey, and invite a couple people down that can't make it out on a private charter and get the 4 people together. I know it's tough to always get people together and organize a date, trust me. Nobody knows more than me how tough that can be. So, Sean, I don't know if you noticed your flag in the background, but thank you for fixing it, because you noticed it in last week's episode that your flag on your boat over there was broken. So you came down and fixed it this week. It was nice catching up with some of the members here at the marina, because their boats are just getting splashed down. Some guys are just down here cleaning it, because that's our therapy. And speaking of therapy, I have an image here I'll throw up on the screen that, we should make, we have Mother's Day. Yeah, Father's Day. But I think the entire month of June should be like, buy your husband something for the boat month, or buy your husband a new fishing rod or a new fishing reel month. That's what June should be, because there's a day and a month for everything. So I'm just going to put that out there. I think that's what June should be. And I also have a prescription for everybody. You guys need to take these pills, okay? And it requires, 2 fishing trips per day. And I'll put it up here on the screen so you can show your wife your new prescription. You guys need to take these and go fishing more often, because it is very good for you. And it'll lead to nothing but a content life. Even says it right here on the label. So, guys are catching some big fish. There's big fish in our area. I mean, Matt on Tuesday had a 42 or a 43-inch bass on his boat. I mean, he's 10 feet away from me. We're talking, and he had just, his last fish was the biggest fish of the day. And there were, Corey's was 39. So you're catching fish. When you're catching fish that are 4 feet long, it's a ton of fun. It's a big bass to net and get on the boat. When you go to lift a 25 and 30-pound bass with the net, you're just like, this is a real fish, and you try not to have that thud on the deck, because you want to take care of the fish. So we try to put them down gently. And let me tell you, it's never easy. Never is. So I went to release a big one, and we talked about bass thumb. I went to go let this thing go, and he wasn't done holding on. That was the worst bass thumb feeling that I've experienced probably in all my times letting a bass go. When I had committed to letting him go and putting him in head first, and he insisted on staying attached to my thumb and then dragged all his weight right down my thumb. I'm sure you guys feel my pain. Catching striped bass. So, yeah, we're excited to get out there and do some fluke fishing, too. Guys are drifting here on the harbor right now. I just saw them drifting. They didn't catch anything, and then they scoot back. They scoot out. Frank had given me a call. He was fishing for the fluke, and he was in up to 7 feet of water, into the warmer water, catching fluke, and he had nothing but shorts. And that was also Captain of the Kitchen, Tony, down here. Captain of the Kitchen was down here telling me, I listened to the report, and, it was spot on with the colors and the gold flutter spoon and the white. And Tony, it changes. So just make sure, they were crushing the silver floater spoon on Tuesday, so it changes. And then you got guys like Justin that are going out at 4 o'clock in the morning. Howie was out there with his son, and Rob got the new 32-foot Pursuit. Just showed up to the fuel dock on that. That was a beautiful boat to see. Congratulations, Rob. That's a beauty. Can't wait to get some blood on that brand new deck of yours. I know you're a ringer in the tournament, so everybody's got to watch out for Rob. He's always got, on his last boat, he had live view, spot lock, you name it. He had every angle to see the fish, which was great. And it's nice when people are really into the technology and actually have the boats that have it all and, really know how to use it and use it to their advantage. And especially when, doing some sort of bottom fishing and fluke fishing. And, it could be a game changer. Totally can. And speaking of, we're using the new Simrad, and it is definitely a game changer compared to the equipment that we had prior, which was the equipment that was on the boat previously and outdated, So now you're up to date. You got the current stuff, and hopefully you use it to your advantage. And I hear from Gene and guys locally that, are all, really into their side scan and how to use it and how to do and whatnot. So it's great. It's great to hear from these guys. And I appreciate all of you guys reaching out. I really do. And I don't want to forget, I can't name everybody. I can't. It's it's impossible. It really is. I could just sit here for the whole episode and just mention, people. So the advice to you guys, boating-wise, let's see if we can spread this throughout the whole boating community, okay? Because I saw the Coast Guard come on Facebook and actually make a Facebook post in the Carolinas regarding a Mayday call, asking anybody to identify the voice. That it was starting to become a big deal. And, when crews go up in helicopters and go out and look for people, a Mayday call is a very serious call in the area. But something else that goes on locally on Channel 16 that shouldn't go on Channel 16, and a lot of times you'll hear the Coast Guard chime in, and it's usually a little further into the season. It's not happening as much now, but it is still happening, where we all turn on our boats. We get on the boat, we turn it on, and a lot of times Channel 16 is already a preset, and it's on your radio, and your VHF radio is automatically on Channel 16 for a lot of people. I know in my case, it is. And if I picked up the handle and did a radio check, I'm doing a radio check on Channel 16. So let's just see if we could get the message out to all the boaters that listen not to do a radio check on Channel 16, okay? Radio checks, you could do them on Channel 9, all right? That's your local area. You're going to reach out to them. Somebody's sitting in a marina. There's somebody that's working on 9 in the area that will respond to you. And try not to do them on Channel 16. 16 is for hailing and distress. And you hear the people that hail a boat, and then all of a sudden the other boat contacts them back, and then they start going into a conversation, and then the Coast Guard tells them to switch to another channel that 16 is for hailing and distress only. So if you hail somebody, just tell them what channel to go down to or up to and head on over there. And if you don't get them, then you go back to 16 and pick another channel. That's going to happen. It's signals. It's how far apart you are. It's what kind of radio you got, what kind of antenna you got. All that matters. But if we could help out the boating community by nobody hailing on doing a radio check on Channel 16, that will definitely free up a lot of the time and talking that's going on that channel. And, as minuscule as that may sound, it's actually a bigger deal. But it's not as big of a deal as what's going on in the Carolinas with somebody, doing a Mayday call. And that's pretty serious. So hopefully they get that rectified. But it was cool to see them put a post on Facebook and actually ask people to help identify the person's voice. And that's it. That's my boating tip. Now, my next tip for all you mooring holders, if you have a mooring that you keep your boat on a mooring, okay, and you wanted to keep the spot that you had last year and you kept a winter stick, okay, might not be the smartest thing to go throughout to now start the season and put your boat on there without having that mooring checked and serviced, okay? It's pretty important. And if you saw any of the recent posts from Volpe Marine Service, okay, check it out at Volpe Marine. If anybody needs any dock service or mooring service, you can reach out to Volpe Marine in the Northport Bay, Northport Harbor area, and the Huntington Bay and Huntington Harbor area. Reach out to Volpe Marine and get that mooring taken care of. Don't leave it out there from last season just to reserve your spot. And I'll show you a picture here on the screen of what it could look like and why you shouldn't do that. So that's just, that is my advice to the mooring people. So we gave a little boating advice, a little mooring advice, and fishing advice. Just get out there and do it. You got to get out there more. That's all you got to do is get out there and fish. Call me and Corey. We'll get you out there. You want to catch fish? Let's go have some fun. So don't hold fish vertically. Support them from the underbelly. Do not put them against your clothes to support them, okay? You don't have to stiff arm them out to here to make it look bigger in the photograph, especially when they're 40 inches and 38 and 39 inches. You don't need to make those look any bigger, trust me. But don't put them against your clothes, and there's a reason for that. You don't want to wipe that slime off. That slime is a protective coating for that fish from the bacteria. And we did catch a whole bunch of fish that had lice on them, so we knew they came in out of the ocean. And they were bigger fish. They were 36-inch, 35-inch fish. And the big fish are here. They're making their way. So it's really, really cool time of the year. Really, and it's only going to ramp up and get better for us here. And that wind is starting to kick up now. Last week, I set my stuff up on the boat. The wind was blowing out of the north. Okay? By the time I sat down here, ready to do it, because I got caught up in some conversations with people in the marina, the wind was blowing out of the east, and now, it's coming and hitting my microphone this way. So I threw the cooler on the boat and sat over here. I don't keep the cooler on the boat. There's no need. I have a built-in cooler up front. And then once I was done and heading out, the wind was coming out of the south. The wind did a full 180. And this is going to happen, so we recommend that you look at the Windy app and you see what the wind direction is for the day and how it's going to change. And, today it's east and then it's southeast and, watch how it changes. And the fog, you got to know what this fog is doing, when it's going to lift, if it's going to lift. You don't even want to go out there. If you don't know how to boat, you don't have radar, you're not used to the area, when there's bad visibility, just call it quits and say, hey, we'll head out another day. Don't run the boat at full throttle out there. And, days like today where it's super foggy and you can only see 150 yards, 100 yards ahead of you. We'll wait for the fog to lift. I'm going out. I'm going to wait for the fog. Fog's going to lift this afternoon. But it is pretty cool down here recording in the fog. I see the sun. It's right above me. It's bright enough, but it is foggy enough too, for sure. And I brought my rod on the boat today, my personal rod, the rod that I use to throw out. If I'm throwing a dock or a super strike or any of the things that I'm using, this is the rod I'm using. You've heard me talk about it from the Ward Melville show. And it's a 7-foot inshore elite. To show you how skinny it is, you could see it's skinnier than my pointer finger. It's super, super skinny. When I'm fishing with this, if it didn't have a reel on it, it would feel like my fly rod. You know what I mean? It's really, really super, super light and skinny. It's an RH custom rod. I got it at the Ward Melville show. And Kenny had to order me another one. We're not going to get into that. And Kenny's hitting Shinnecock today, so he's heading out. I'll hopefully have some intel for you and what goes on there. And I swear, when he was texting me, telling me he's going to Shinnecock, I was just scrolling through some drone photos and videos, and I literally had just watched a really cool drone video that I shot out at shinny. So it was really cool. What do we got on here? We got the Stratic. All right, so we got a Stratic. I think I got the what do I got, the 4000? Yeah, it's the 4000, Stratic 4000 on there. Obviously with the power knob. So on all my setups, doesn't matter what it is, I put a power knob on it. And that's my striped bass, bluefish, as light as it gets, set up. And, I mean, if you hook into something big, yeah, not the greatest setup to have when you're on a 40-inch bass. But, again, anything smaller than that, this is an absolute blast to catch on that. It'll bend in half. The rod's going to bend in half under the gunnel. And, you know, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for, but you also don't want to have to play the fish, you know, so, especially in our case where we're tagging and releasing them. And, you know, it's misty. It's not raining. It's misty, you know, so it's kind of a cool day. I could have worn my sweatshirt. I could have, but I'm very comfortable down here, and I'm happy to be back on the boat. I'm going to do a couple of these episodes out in, you know, different harbors and cruise out when it's a nice calm day in the sun and the sound and sit out there and do them in the middle of nowhere. And that's what's going to be really cool. And I have some really cool guests lined up, guys. So, I mean, even from timing of the boat show, which we're excited to be back at, that's all locked up and ready for next year already. So we're super excited to be back in that. Don't forget, we got the tournament coming up, June 22nd, Bay Rats and Buoys, first annual Striped Bass Invitational. Big shout out to Rob over at High Hook. He jumped in as a sponsor and saw the ad in the Fisherman magazine and shouted out. So that was awesome. And it's great when the local companies get involved and they reach out and they want to be a part of it. That's what makes this cool. Really does. And we love that we're hosting it. And we're excited, but everybody locally that we're talking to is trash talking. You know, Rob's winning it on the new Pursuit. You got to watch out for Howie and, you know, on the Regulator. And, you know, there's a lot of great fishermen in the area. There really are, you know. And everybody's got a good chance because the good news is it's not going to be the heaviest fish that you got to rush back to a weigh station. The grand prize winner would be the longest striped bass, okay? And if you had a 48-inch and two people had a 48-inch, it's going to be going by the girth of that fish. So we'll break that all down in the captain's meeting and explain how that all works when we have the captain's meeting. So super excited about that. And if you're going to join the tournament from outside of the local area, and let's just say you couldn't make it to the evening of the captain's meeting, we would have a video conference call where we can get you all the information and we can let you know how it's going to go down and some of the rules and what you need to know. That's it. It's going to be simple. It's going to be a ton of fun. It really is. And what else? I mean, we got the tournament. You got to go to sandcitycharter.com. That's where all the current information is. We start posting pictures and whatnot. But if you want to book a charter, just head on over there, the contact page, fill out the form, shoot us over the date. If you want to get out on a weekday, remember I said we're great at hosting last-minute trips. So if somebody calls us and says, hey, I want to get out tomorrow morning, and we're not booked, we're going to get you out tomorrow morning. It's that easy. So we do fish 7 days a week, weather permitting. And there are days that, you know, like Saturday, it was blowing. And, you know, they've already been on the boat. They know what it's like. They've already rescheduled. So they know how flexible we are and how cool we are like that we're, you know, really easy to work with. And that's what makes it a lot of fun, that we're going fishing. We don't stress this. You know what I mean? This is those kids that got on the boat, you know, we said, you guys want to go catch big striped bass? And they were like, yeah, that's what we want to do. The parents do. They were like, we don't want to go porgy fishing. We want to go catch big bass. We put them on big bass. When you never caught a fish and you catch a 36-inch striped bass, when that thing got on the boat, you got to see their faces and hear their reactions. It was unbelievable. And I have it all on video. And I can show it to you here. So tune in, listen. I'll play you a little clip here. You can hear what Mom and Dad are saying.
Mom, first one.
You You can see the looks on their faces. And,
beauty.
we told them this was going to happen. And, again, we could have went out there and got skunked and struck out. We could have. It happens. The fish sometimes aren't chewing. And everybody's still talking about that Friday that the fish had lockjaw. Everybody talks about the day that they got out there and they didn't catch anything. What was going on? What happened? And that's fishing. So, if you want to get out there and catch some bass, head over to sandcitycharter.com. Episode 31 on the boat. Season 2 is in the books. And I'm going to drive my boat down the harbor right now and head over to one of the tackle shops because I'm going to stock up on something before all you guys get to it. I'm going to go buy a whole bunch of them because I use them on the boat. And then I'll show you what it is and what color's working. So stay tuned in every week, guys. Hit me up with some comments. I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing from the Bay Rats and Buoys fans. You guys are absolutely awesome. And we do have a nice young generation that is listening to this. So the young ones, don't hesitate to reach out and send us some pictures of the fish that you're catching, where you're catching them, what you use to catch them. And I'll pop you up here in the podcast. Happily. All right? So we're going to send the magazine some of the pictures from the kids this weekend with the striped bass. Hopefully they make it into the magazine because that's what it's all about. It's promoting this younger generation and getting them hooked on what we love to do and teaching them the right way to do it. So, Captain Gaige, Bay Rats and Buoys, episode 31, signing out. Wishing everybody bent rods, tight lines, and I'll see you out on the water. Bay Rats and Buoys presents Long Island's hottest new striped bass tournament. Our first annual Striped Bass Invitational. Going down in the Long Island Sound. Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. Shotgun start at 7:30 a.m. just north of the Huntington Lighthouse. 4 categories with first, second, and third place. Grand prize for the longest striped bass division, thanks to J&M Seafood. The first 25 boats to register will receive our tournament bucket loaded with sponsors' products. Compete for conservation in our tagging division. Catch and release format. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Sponsor the passion. Fuel the competition. Signing up is easy. Visit stripedbassinvitational.com. That's stripedbassinvitational.com, or just scan the QR code.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. Be sure to visit sandcitycharter.com and follow Captain Gaige on all our social media channels.